I'm Ed Chandler, and happy Father's Day, and I thought I'd share with you 5 important life lessons I've learned from my dad. Now, it was hard to get it down to 5 because there's probably more like 500 if I was really paying attention all of these years, but I figured I'd pick 5 random ones, except for one. The last one was the most important life lesson I ever learned from my dad, and I'll share that with you in a little bit. Number one of the things I learned was the fact that buy only what you can afford and buy the best that you can afford. It's better to have a few good things that will last and that you can take care of and own for a long, long time than it is to buy something cheap, have it break, and have to buy it over and over again. So buy the best you can afford, buy what you can afford, and take care of it, and it will take care of you. One of my biggest memories was my dad gave me when I was younger a small tool set, a 1/4-inch drive ratchet set with some sockets. I still have that set today. It must have cost him a lot of money. I know it did, because it's a very expensive set, but it has lasted me and probably will last a lifetime. I'll probably hand it down to my son. So that lesson was learned with one simple little tool set. Next thing is, you can't own everything, nor do you need to own everything, so sometimes you need to borrow stuff or rent it. And one of the things that I learned from my dad was, if you do borrow something from somebody, make sure you return it in as good a condition or better than when you borrowed it. It's a way of saying thank you, but it's also a way of letting that person know that you really care about their stuff, and in the event that you need to borrow it again, they will be more than happy to do that, probably because you took care of it the first time around. Good example is if you borrow somebody's car, when you drive it, make sure you take it back with a full tank of gas, and then it's washed and cleaned up and all of that and ready to go so they can use it immediately. Or if you borrow some power tools or something like that, make sure you clean them up after you use them and fill them up with fuel and stuff like that. So that's what that goes for. My dad also taught me that no matter what the task or job, do the best that you possibly can. And part of that was do the best that you can, but don't always expect to be the best. Not everybody is the best at everything, but you can have comfort in the fact that if you tried your hardest and did your best, that sometimes is all you can do. There's also a lesson in there as well that you're going to learn over the course of your life what you're good at and what you're not. And the things that you aren't good at, even though you do your best job, you can find somebody who is good at that and take and learn from them, or have them help you or do things for you that you can't do for yourself. So it works in a lot of different ways. It's a simple lesson that really expands into a whole lot of different areas that I'm not going to get into right now. The other thing I learned from my dad, and it's because my parents have been married over 50 years, is that getting married is easy. Staying married isn't necessarily as easy. In fact, it can be quite difficult at times. I've seen my parents go through a lot of trials and tribulations over the course of their marriage and still have managed to stay together. Now, there are circumstances, obviously, in the cases of abuse and things like that where people have to get divorced. But so often people, and this is kind of what my parents think, so often people give up simply because they just don't want to try anymore, and that's not always the best thing to do. You've got to give it your best shot. Do your best job. It gets back to the thing we were talking about, and that includes in your marriage. And also, here's another thing that I learned from my dad, and this is the most important lesson that I ever learned, and he never really said it, he just lived it. And that is, when you are raising children, it takes more than just the parents to raise the kids. There were a ton of people involved in my life. My grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, friends. Church was a very big part of our family, and so was God. And I raised my kids the same way, and we've all turned out excellent, excellent people, because it teaches you about a lot of different people, and it puts you in touch with a lot of different people and ideas and all of the things that help you learn and become who you are. So you're not singular in any way, shape, or form. I love that, because I've learned so much from so many different people, because my parents and my dad making this all happen, and I have to thank both my parents for that, to exposing us to so many different things. And that's a really important life lesson lesson, especially with kids, and I've done as much as I could. Same thing with my children as well. My wife says it takes a village to raise a child, and that's a lesson that I learned even when I was younger and never really understood it until I had kids, nor did my dad ever really say it. Hey, happy Father's Day to my dad and to all the dads out there. Hope that your kids learn some important life lessons from you. And if you have your dad around like I do, say happy Father's Day to him, or the other person in your life that is like a father figure. Enjoy, and I'm looking forward to doing this next year with even more life lessons, because now I'm getting to the age where I actually start listening closely to my dad. Happy Father's Day, and thanks for listening and spending time with me today.